To everyone wearing headphones, I'm sorry. It's cold in here. My little mini heater is on because it's cold in here. And, like, yeah, I could put on a sweater, Mom, but, I'm not gonna do that. I have a little tiny heater. Why would I save electricity? Hello. I'm not dead. I know that my last video I posted was the beginning of October, and I have had some fun things happening recently. So hang on a sec. Oh, that was... So, I make coffee with my French press, but I don't measure anything. So, I will have, like, some days where the coffee's good and some days where the coffee's not good. Anyway, I will survive this bad cup of coffee. October, I was like, oh, I'll make 2 videos in October, it's gonna be great. And then, on Halloween, I went out roller skating, and I fell and I broke my wrist. And now all my coworkers are like, Pink, you gotta stop roller skating, but roller skating is so freeing. It's like... And so that made Keytar playing very difficult. I actually had the majority of November, I just didn't play anything, which is very sad. At a certain point in October, my psychiatrist and I reduced one of my meds, because I have pretty intense bipolar disorder. I always forget that it's as bad as it is. And also, as a side note, there's going to be a lot of times in this video where I say you and I mean me. It makes me feel better to refer to everything in the second person instead of having to get introspective. Yeah, when you live with something, like, every day, even if it's inconvenient, when it's an everyday thing, you're just like, this is normal, this is fine. We reduced one of my meds, and then it blew up and was not good. That happened. I run into a lot of people who, like, don't understand. Like, I'll talk about something. Oh, also I cut my hair. But they don't know what bipolar is or, like, how it relates to other things, so, a lot of people are familiar with depression. Like, you say someone has depression, someone's dealing with depression or major depression, and people know what that is. It's a thing that impacts a lot of people. Like, there's still... It's symptoms that a lot of people can, like, you say the word depression and people sort of understand kind of what it is. Like, one of the really hard parts about having serious depression symptoms is that it's like being trapped in a hole that other people don't see. So, like, you're trapped in a hole and one of your friends says, hey, do you want to go to the mall? And you say, I would love to, but I'm trapped in this hole. And your friend can't see the hole and just says, wow, if you didn't want to go, you didn't need to make up an excuse. So it's like being trapped in a hole, and you do want to go to the mall, you just can't because you're in a hole, but nobody else can see the hole. And then you get into, like, manic, because bipolar is a tied together set of symptoms that is depression and elevated mood. I don't like the term manic episode for the majority of things. Manic episode is a specific subset of elevated mood. Anyway, hang on. When you talk about elevated mood or manic episode, and as a side note, I've noticed it among those who are frequent on the TikTok website to casually refer to manic episode to describe non-manic episodes. I want to let you know that that is very damaging and very alienating to your friends who actually experience that. It makes it very difficult for people to take you seriously when you have it. When you say, I'm having a manic episode, and people think you're just like a weird girl on TikTok who's overstressed. If you think you're having manic episodes, 20 years old is when bipolar frequently starts to show up, so if you're among the TikTok generation and you think you're having manic episodes, for the love of God, find a doctor, talk to them about it, because they suck. And you shouldn't have to live with that on your own just because you don't have a previous diagnosis. But don't use it colloquially, please. Anyway, so bipolar is, like, 2 things that are attached to each other, and you have a low-level mood elevation, you're probably going to have low-level depression. I've talked about that before. And then if you have really severe manic episodes, your brain's going to be like, ooh, I know what to do, let's do the opposite of that. But it can't actually just get back to stable, it's going to have to get, like, depression too. Why wouldn't it do that? Why would that not be a thing? Anyway, when you talk about elevated mood, a lot of people don't really understand what that is. And so, it gets hard to explain to people, like, oh yes, we're having an elevated mood today. Like, I don't know what that means. And I'm also like, sometimes I don't know what that means either. A lot of people get euphoric hypomanic episodes, which is like less sleep, a whole lot more energy, and sort of like an inability to see anything that's wrong. Which also involves like social elements of, you know, talking too much, thinking too fast, saying stupid things, offending your friends and family members, you know, not feeling like going to work, so just don't go to work, impulse control. Everything's fine. And then, like, an actual manic episode generally has psychotic symptoms, and is bad enough that it interferes with your day-to-day life, with your work, with your ability to be a successful person. And also, side note, here in the United States, be a successful person can be a lot more difficult than in other countries where, like, you get disability time if you work 39.5 hours a week. I don't get disability time because 39.5 hours is part-time. For some reason. But then you can get either, like, anxious manic or something like that, which has the same elevated mood, sometimes psychotic symptoms, but also just an overwhelming constant sense of anxiety. And that was what I had. It was fun. And that went on for, hang on a second. Fun fact, did you know that when your brain doesn't work, sometimes you need to write yourself a cheat sheet to show you how you felt? So we went for several days. Like, 3 weeks of that where I, like, couldn't go to work, was constantly getting overwhelmed. And also, because of the way that it works, if you say, okay, well, I'm having these symptoms, but I'm gonna push through it and just keep working, in the same way that you would if, like, you hurt your foot, and you say, okay, I'm gonna just keep working, then I'll go home and take care of it, all that's gonna do is make the depressive elements worse. So I had to actually monitor myself, and talk with my doctor, and a bunch of other stuff. It was great. Anyway, yeah, it's very difficult to, get a Keytar video out when you're, don't have one hand and also don't have your feet grounded in reality. So yeah, we're kind of in the middle. Like, I think we're gonna get more depressed. We had to adjust my pill level, and for the record, I'm on a lot of pills. I have like 5 daily meds and then 3 maintenance meds. Or 3 as-needed meds. Which, like, isn't a whole ton for one person to have, but it's kind of a lot for one condition to have, especially when there's not really a hope of curing it. It's just going to be a thing you have for the rest of your life. You know? It's how it goes, sometimes. Anyway, sorry this is like a low energy video. It would be great to be able to pop up and just be like, everything is so good, you guys, but I don't really. Everything's fine. Anyway, so that's a hi, I'm not dead. I know I went 2, almost 3 months without making a video. I used to do that all the time, but then I was doing such a good job of getting a video up every month. This was really bad coffee. Oh yeah, the other thing is that, like, going into, you know, depressive garbage is that, like, really small inconveniences get really big. Like, I have put my UM1 interface, my MIDI interface for my computer, and the power cable for my amp somewhere, and I'll be like, oh, I want to play Keytar, and then those 2 things are just not there, and instead of looking for them, I'm like, well, I just won't do that. You know, I had a period where I was just like sitting there watching try not to laugh videos on YouTube, because any time that I did anything else I'd be like, oh, that's gonna make me anxious. And when I'm anxious, I'm angry at myself. And if I'm angry at myself for too long, someone's gonna get hurt, and we all know who it's gonna be. And so, like, you know, interfering with just day-to-day existence. And now I'm like, this is gonna get worse before it gets better. I don't know what to say apart from that. Anyway. The Keytar of the day is this one because it is a fantastic size. It's super heavy. Doesn't have velocity sensitivity. This is the Korg RK100 Classic. Not to be confused with the RK100S. It's a MIDI controller, but like, it's just got so much style. It has like these little LEDs down here. They're just so cute. Look. Isn't that cute? So the only downside is that the mod wheel snaps all the way back to 0 anytime you take your finger off of it, which is probably really good for the kind of stuff it was made for, but it's not really good for what it is now. I'd show that, but I don't have my MIDI software, my MIDI interface, and I could look for it, or I could just sit down and not do anything. And actually, when I say I could look for it, I mean I should look for it, but I sort of can't. It's gigantic, and I love it. Let's go find the damn cat. YouTube kitty. That's too bad. I buy her the gravy, and if she doesn't want to be on YouTube, she just isn't gonna get wet food anymore. Yeah, you should have thought of that before you became the cat, Midnight. What's up? Can you say hi? Hi.